Will Day's management has been contacted about a potential trade, and rumours have it a three-team trade involving Charlie Curnow and Bailey Humphreys is currently in the works. Let's get into it. G'day guys, ET back with another trade period update video. We're going to go through all the small stuff and then get into the big stuff later on in the video, so let's get into it. First up, Liam Ryan is officially saying it was Liam Ryan and a 2027 third in exchange for a 2026 second from the Eagles. Next, Ben Ainsworth from the Sun has officially been traded to Carlton in a three-team trade involving Gold Coast, Carlton and Port Adelaide. Gold Coast get pick 29 and Port Adelaide get Corey Durden from the Blues. Next is Campbell Chester traded to Carlton from the Eagles, and the Eagles get pick 41 in exchange. It's an absolute steal because this guy was a first-round pick with tons of potential. Reports say that Collingwood are interested in North Melbourne's captain, Jai Simpkin. Simpkin wants to play more on-ball minutes, has been stuck on a wing most of 2025, so I think this is a great trade and a great pickup for both sides. Brody Mychek from Collingwood is officially a demon. The trade looked like Mychek and pick 71 over to Melbourne in exchange for pick 61 and a 2026 third-round pick to Collingwood. Richmond defender Tyler Young is headed to the Eagles on a 3-year deal. Not yet official, but currently in the works and looks like will get done fairly soon. Clayton Oliver has officially requested a trade to the Giants. Cal Wilkie extends with the Saints after rejecting a 4-year, $4.5 million offer from the Dogs. Rumour has it Jamara Ugelhagen is off to the Suns. Apparently he went over there for a medical, and rumours have it the contract is going to be very heavily incentivised. For example, a certain number of goals and games played will increase the number at the end of the day. Now, you've probably already heard this one, but Leek Aaliyah from the Giants, his contract from St Kilda that was supposed to happen has been pretty much cancelled. Look, it's not a good look for St Kilda, and it's very unlucky for Leek. But at the same time, St Kilda were offering, I think, $4 million over 5 years for a bloke who's played. Guess how many games he's played? If you don't know, he's played 25 games. I think just the fact that they offered the money they did St Kilda is absolutely ridiculous, and I think it's good for the Saints that the trade fell through. Look, it's not a good look, 100% not a good look, the fact that they just sort of pulled the contract away that was almost guaranteed throughout most of this season. But at the same time, if you're paying $4 million for a guy that's played 25 games, look, I think he was more of a backup plan. Like, they sort of had him in the back of their mind. For example, I think they expected Rowan Marshall and Cal Wilkie to leave, and he was sort of the replacement for Wilkie or just another extra player in case one of the Saints' high-paid players left. But now, by the looks of it, like I just said, Wilkie has signed on with the Saints, and on to the next one, Rowan Marshall looks like he's staying with the Saints for the time being. Marshall did officially request a trade to the Cats, but by the looks of it, it's not going through, at least for the time being. Geelong did offer Charlie Curnow 3 first-round picks, which was rejected, and I think just for that fact, if they did get Charlie Curnow, Rowan Marshall, they wouldn't have the assets for him. So for the time being, Marshall is not being traded to Geelong. But I could see a potential trade for Rowan Marshall in exchange for Sam De Koning from the Cats. Look, the Cats really need a ruckman. They're desperate for a ruckman. I think Blitzars and Stanley are both 34, 35 years old, and they're pretty much desperate for it. Sam De Koning, obviously, if he goes to the Saints, he'll be playing with his brother. He's a key defender who can play a bit of ruck, and he's played up forward at times. So I think potentially just a straight swap Marshall for De Koning would make sense. Look, Marshall's definitely a better player, but De Koning is about 24 compared to Marshall being 30. Geelong are desperate for a ruck, so I think either a straight swap or, depending on who you ask, who's worth more at this point in time, just an extra maybe third-round pick or a future second or something like that. But I think potentially Rowan Marshall for Sam De Koning will go through eventually. Carlton have rejected Geelong's offer of 3 first-round picks for Charlie Curnow. Look, I wouldn't take it either. I think Geelong's best pick would be this year, which would be pick 19. So you're essentially trading 3 pick 20s for Curnow. Not worth it at all. If those picks were closer to the top 10, that's a different story. But at this time, 3 pretty much pick 20s for the next 3 years for Curnow. Not worth it. And I think Geelong are in desperate need for a ruckman as opposed to a key forward. Yes, I know Curnow is a Coleman medalist, one of the best forwards in the game at his best. But Geelong definitely need Rowan Marshall more than they need Charlie Curnow, in my opinion. Cal Archie from the Lions was set to be traded to the Crows, but apparently it's a bit of a stalemate because both teams cannot decide on a trade. Brisbane were looking at Adelaide's pick 16 in this year's draft for a future first, and apparently Adelaide are not going to budge on more than a future second. Look, for the Crows, I think eventually you're going to have to give in because Archie is one of those players, two-time premiership player, really solid role player. It's one of those guys that if you want to make a deep finals push, he's just a very, very good piece to have, especially with the obviously 2 grand final experiences. And eventually it's going to go through. I don't know what for at this point, but yeah, I think someone's going to have to give in and take unders. Now, Will Day's management has been contacted by the Adelaide Crows about a potential trade back to South Australia. If you didn't know, Day is from South Australia. Now, look, it's probably not going to happen unless they want to fork up a max contract for Day, which they probably won't because of his injury history. But look, it's not unlikely. Look, it's not going to happen this off-season, definitely. But yeah, we don't know with Will Day. Does he want to go back home to play? We just saw that happen with James Warple. But if Will Day can't stay healthy and can't get more than 20 games over the next 2 seasons, do the Hawks look at trading him? 99% would say no, but at the same time, if you can flip Day for Butters, that's if Will Day can't stay on the track. I mean, if Will Day literally cannot get a healthy season together, he can't get more than 20 games together over the next, 2 to 3 seasons or so. And even if he doesn't, they can probably just underpay him a little bit for the fact that they're like, yeah, Hawthorn will pretty much say, yeah, well, you can't even make 20 games. You haven't played our last 2 final series, and you're simply not worth what you are when you're healthy because you just can't stay healthy, unfortunately. As a Hawks fan, I don't want to see Will Day leave. Obviously, he's our best player at his best, but if he wants to go home and Adelaide are looking to offer a contract that looks like Nazar Wanganeen-Mildred's contract, no one's going to force him to stay, especially if he's a unrestricted free agent. So, yeah, it's not going to happen. I know it's not going to happen this off-season, but, yeah, the fact that Adelaide has contacted him just shows that stuff like this could potentially be possible in the future. But at this point, Will Day is going to stay a Hawk. Now, the 3-team trade I suggested in the intro of this video would see Bailey Humphrey to the Hawks, Charlie Curnow to the Suns, and Carlton get value back for Charlie Curnow in terms of top 10 picks. So let's get into this. I'm fully aware that the Suns have said publicly that they have no interest in trading Bailey Humphreys, but let's be honest, teams say that to increase the value of their player. For example, if Hawthorn really wanted Humphreys, they're going to pay a little bit more for the fact that Gold Coast don't want to get rid of him, for example, if that makes sense. But you're telling me that if you're Gold Coast, would you flip Humphreys for Curnow? Absolutely you would. Curnow is a 2-time Coleman medalist, one of the best forwards in the game. Yes, Humphreys was a pick 6, only 21 years old, massive potential. But at the same time, if Gold Coast can get Petrarca and Curnow, 2 of the better players in the comp right now, then they're going to be favourites of the flag. And I can see them definitely making the top 4 in 2026. So there's 2 trade scenarios. One is Hawthorn and Gold Coast, and the other is the 3-team trade. So the Hawks and Suns trade would be Hawthorn send pick 9, 31, 32, 43 to Gold Coast for Humphreys and a future second. So Hawthorn are pretty much just going to clear their draft hand for this year because they're looking for the future and future picks to put towards next year's trade being either Butters or Sam Walsh. Now the Hawks are giving up a top 10 pick and 3 second-round picks for 21. Look, when it comes to flipping Humphreys and potentially getting Curnow, I think this trade is an absolute must for both sides. Now, if the Suns do make this trade for Humphreys, their draft hand will look like this: 7, 8, 9, 15, 18, 29, 31, 32, 43, 52, 70, and 74. Now, that's 3 top 10 picks, another 2 first-round picks, another 4 second-round picks, and then a few extras at the very end. So 5 first-round picks, including 3 top 10 picks, and another 4 second-round picks, and that's not even including future first and seconds in the next 2 years' drafts. And then at the bottom, with Curnow and Track, they're just the potential trades that could be made to get those 2 guys off to the Suns. Yes, it's probably not the exact trades. You're probably going to throw in a few more futures or maybe some extra picks. That's just sort of the core of the trade, I think. So, yeah, this is absolutely possible. If they really want to flip Humphreys and get a big package out of him, and then flip that package in exchange for Petrarca and Curnow, I think it's absolutely possible. I know they got some of the academy guys and whatnot, and they're going to need extra points in the draft to get those guys, but for the most part, you're going to want the 2 All-Australians or past All-Australians in your team rather than some rookies, so I think it's absolutely possible. Now, in the 3-team trade, Hawthorn will be giving up 9, 31, 32, 43, and 62 for Humphreys and a second. Keep in mind, one of those pick 30s is coming from Sydney in the Jai Sarong trade, which is most likely going to happen. Then the Blues give up Curnow in exchange for picks 7, 9, 18, 29, and 31, which is a pretty good draft haul in my opinion, much better than what the Cats offered. Just for example, the pick 18 would be the most valuable pick Geelong would give up, and Carlton would be getting that plus 2 more top 10 picks. So in terms of comparison to the Geelong trade, this is in a different universe. And the Suns give up picks 7, 18, 29, Humphrey, and a future second. It seems like a lot, but they're getting back Curnow, 32, 43, and 62. Now, these extra picks that the Suns are receiving pretty much going to go towards the Petrarca trade and just to have extra picks, which is going to give them extra points in the draft towards their academy players. So I feel like the Suns are giving up a lot, but you're getting a 2-time Coleman medalist plus 2 second-round picks and just a later pick to even stuff out. It's going to be the core or the foundation of this trade. It could be different for everyone. Everyone's going to have different picks and different scenarios, but for the most part, this will be the core of the trade. And at the same time, Gold Coast are getting a 2-time Coleman medalist plus 2 second-round picks in exchange for a fair bit. So they're still going to have enough picks for Petrarca and potentially their rookies coming out of the academy. So I feel like this foundation is definitely going to suit Gold Coast in terms of getting Petrarca and Curnow. So comment and let me know, what do you think of this trade scenario and what would you change /add whatever you want to do. Just let me know in the comments. I'm very curious to hear the fans' thoughts and opinions. Yes, it does seem like the Suns are giving up a lot, but please don't forget that pick 29 and 32 are basically just exchanged. They're almost the exact same pick. And then if Gold Coast are going to get Curnow and Petrarca and potentially make a top 4 push, then that future second is going to be mid-second round. So basically that pick 29 and future second in exchange for pick 32 and 43, look, they're just minor downgrades. So when you actually look at it from a perspective, it is pick 7, 18, Humphreys for Curnow and 62. And then obviously the minor downgrade in the picks. But for the most part, the Suns are essentially giving up a top 10 pick, a late first round pick, and Humphrey for one of the best players in the league at his best, a Coleman medalist. So really, it's not too bad. 2 first round picks and a player. For Curnow, yeah, it's not too bad, especially when you're getting 3 picks as well as Curnow back. In my opinion, this is a decent trade, or at least the foundation of a decent trade. So, yeah, thank you for watching. Comment down below your thoughts and opinions on these trade scenarios, and, yeah, see you next time.